Hello, everybody. Write or Die Show. I am your host, Randi-lee. On today's show, we have a very eclectic author who has written a few various genres, and something he's got in the works is I'm excited to read, but it's a big secret. We're not telling you yet, but we're going to have him back on the show as that book gets closer to it. So with no further ado, I would love to welcome on James Rickard. Welcome. So welcome, Jim, to the show. I'm super excited to have you here. We're going to jump right in and start with an easy question of tell us about yourself.
Okay, well, I'm a writer from West Virginia. I've done five novellas and a couple of short stories on Amazon, but I've also been diagnosed as being depressed and anxiety, so that's why I'm here.
Excellent. I'm so glad that you're just jumping right to the topic at hand. So let's get into it.
Okay.
When were you diagnosed?
It was a while back. It was about it may be longer, but I'm gonna say it was 5 or 6 years ago. I had a really long bout of flu, which deep down I think predates COVID. I don't know because, like I said, it lasted about 6 months. But anyway, I just kept going to the doctor, and I kept telling him more and more. And he said, "Hey, man, you're really depressed." So he gave me some medication for that. And eventually, he said, "You know, I've done as much as I can do, and I don't want to over medicate you. So why don't you start seeing a therapist?"
Okay. So you're going through this flu, or what you think is a flu, and eventually the doctor's just
Yeah, yeah, well, I
like,
thought,
you
yeah,
know what?
exactly.
Maybe it's not the flu. Maybe it's something else. Interesting.
True.
It's so interesting how our body, it puts whatever's mentally going on into that physical world.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
So then did you start in therapy?
Yes. I spent two. I therapy did me a world of good. Okay, I want to make that crystal clear. I was there for 2.5 years. Now, somebody will say, "Wow, 2.5 years to me," and that guy must have been really nuts. But we did it was almost like an interview. It was very far ranging. We had some great conversations, and little by little, it really helped me. It's like, see, I started going for depression, and somewhere along the way, we stumbled upon to anxiety also. So that was almost like starting over. That's one reason it took 2.5 years.
Yeah.
But it really worked out well for me. And now I haven't been going to therapy not real long, for about a year now.
Okay.
I'm
But you've
still
always had the option of going back if you need it, right?
right. You can go back. Now I'm not full of myself though because see I've made that mistake before. Several years ago, I was in therapy for just a little while, a few months, and I thought I was okay. I think there's one reason I was in therapy so long the second time. I thought it was okay, so I said to my therapist, "Okay, see you, bye." And well, the rest.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I did the same thing, but with my medication. I was like, oh, I'm better. I don't need it anymore. Yes, not a
Exactly.
good idea. Yes.
And
Awesome.
as a matter of fact, I thought for a while about getting out of therapy, but I was kind of afraid to bring it up, afraid I may relapse or something, especially after I screwed up the first time. And so I never said anything. And then luckily, my therapist brought it up one day. And
Oh, okay.
it was easier to broach the subject.
Yes.
I can't remember exactly. At this time, my memory was like all over the place,
It's yeah.
And but I think I was seeing her every week, but I'm not sure. And then we kept cutting it down to like once every couple of weeks, and then for a long time we just did once a month.
Yes, yeah.
And that worked really well. And the thing of it is, I had a great therapist. Like I said, we had some far-ranging conversations. Some days we would go in there and really work on stuff, and other days it was just two friends hanging out. Maybe we talk about something we saw on TV or movies or
Yeah.
something, like that. But it was great. Yeah, but And we she even got transferred to various locations and whatnot. So I would go around, wherever she was, that's where I went. And
Yes.
what was really strange is when she got transferred, it was like 40 miles away from here. It was like in the mountains.
Wow.
Yeah, I said this, and I live in West Virginia, so it was all
Oh,
turn
wow.
down that kind of only 40 miles, but it took like forever to get there, But
She must have
I
been good then.
she was real good, yeah. And that's luckily that was at the time when I was still doing the 1 month thing. And
Okay, not so bad.
right, it's not so bad then, yeah. I said, yeah, it's kind of worth it. I said, hey, we got a good relationship, it's going well. And she said, well, you could just see somebody else in the office near you. But I thought to myself, nah, I don't want to start over with somebody new because she knows my ins and outs and my weirdness, and she's seen me
Exactly.
bad. I mean, the thing of it is like, I see, I've always been really good at hiding my problems. And
Mm.
so I kind of make it like blow off to I know how to play the game. I know how to be
Yes.
nice,
Yeah.
and also it's like it may be on a day where I say my biorhythms are up. So I may be walking in there and really hitting on all cylinders,
Hmm.
really say, and this, and the new therapist says, hey, there's nothing wrong with this guy, but there
Yes.
are other, maybe like the next day, it's like I go to pieces or something, you know.
Yeah.
It's like I still have this problem where I don't sleep well at night, and so I talked about that with my therapist a lot, and even though she's not asleep there, she helped me with that a lot too.
Good.
So like I said, it's like that's why I was there 2.5 years. We talked about so much stuff.
Well, there's
And
a lot in life, right?
exactly. And so I kept going in and going in, seeing her.
All right. So I'm glad that therapy was such a good experience. I had a great experience with my therapist as well. And we did the same thing. I was meeting every week, and then it was like every couple of weeks or once a month. And now it's been a while, but I know that if I ever need to, I'm pick up that phone, give her a call. Did you experience any stigma
Yeah,
around your mental
that's right.
health?
Pick up the phone. Yes. I, well, sort of. I said yes. Let me just say sort of.
Okay.
I live in a very small
Okay.
town, and people aren't often real up to date where I live, something like that. And like people, it's like if the word gets out, it's like you've got mental problems. They think you're some kind of animal or something,
Mm.
They say, "Oh man, stay away from this guy." Next thing you know, he'll be walking down the street naked or something like that.
Oh dear.
So what I do basically just play it safe. Don't open up too much. And the only people that know about my experiences in therapy, depression, and whatnot like that are people that are safe to talk to.
And now the whole world, because you're talking to me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But that's okay. So, what got you to the point then that you were like, you know what, I'm going to talk about it? Because now you are. You're talking about it in this post on YouTube. And
Exactly. Well, the way I look at it, it's like, I don't want to sound like I'm full of myself or anything like that. But you know what? If we help one person, that's cool. I've done my job.
yes.
But on top of it, also, one thing I've done to try and help myself is I've watched a lot of YouTubes,
Okay.
and I found out there are a lot of celebrities and whatnot who have some kind of mental problems, especially with guys' depression. For instance, see, the guy who let's see, who played Barry Krepke on Big Bang Theory.
Okay.
The guy
Yep.
that had the speech impediment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, yeah, he's one of them. Let's see. He had a real long talk. I guess it's still on YouTube. I don't know. Talking about
Yeah.
depression. The worst thing, as far as I'm concerned, about hidden depression is the Robin Williams story right there.
Oh
I
my
mean,
goodness. So
here
sad.
was a guy. totally off the wall. He ended up committing suicide.
So sad.
It, it's really sad though when you consider over the years how many celebrities have committed suicide because all we see is their outer persona, what they present to us, and they don't like Robin Williams, the
Yeah.
guy on Glee. Uh, oh gosh, I don't know. I just just to come off the top of my head, a
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
of them.
It's very, very sad. And actually, something that I learned when I was working in social services a few years ago, I say a few, but now it's got to be almost 5. Oh my goodness. Time flies,
I'm
eh?
fine.
Oh my goodness. So I was able to go to one of these trainings. It's an assist training. So for us, I can't remember exactly what assist stands for. Applied suicide something intervention strategy, something like that. It's an acronym. Anyways, it was teaching us as frontline workers how to help somebody who was thinking about suicide. And one of the things that they taught us was that we don't say commit suicide anymore because the word commit, I can't remember how they explained it exactly. They explained it better than I'm going to explain it right now. But
It
the
has
word
negative
commit,
connotation.
yes, it means that it's something that they want to do and they want to accomplish, whereas suicide is more of wanting to escape from something that seems unending. And I mean, I've had suicidal ideation, and I don't know, have you?
You know what? No, I have. I was lucky in that respect, but so many times when I first started grappling with this, and I would talk to doctors or my therapist, anybody like that, they would all the time. The very first thing they would say, "Do you have any suicidal thoughts?"
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so I never got that bad.
Oh, good, because it's an awful feeling, and again, it's not. It's something that
Oh,
you want to escape from the problem, not the problem, but
yes.
escape from the lack of feeling. For me, it's a lack of feeling. And so what they taught us in this
Lack of feeling.
training, yeah, what they taught us in this training was instead to say die by suicide, which I thought at the time, I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. But the more
Right.
that I thought about it, the more that I've kind of learned from other people, I'm like, that's an interesting way to say it. I've always, my whole life grown up, it's, oh, they committed. But that word, like you said, has some bad connotations with it. So that's what I learned a few years ago.
Right.
So I kind of sometimes I mess up and I'll say commit because I mean, like I said, I grew up my whole life. That's what they said. But I try really hard now to say die by.
Exactly. But I really like that. Just so your viewers aren't saying, "What's this guy doing?" I took the notes there. Died suicide.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. And if you're not told, you're never going to know, right?
Yes, exactly.
So interesting. Well, I'm so glad that you didn't have that experience with the suicidal ideation because it's a really hard one to grapple
No, being a writer, though, I will say this: I never felt like committing suicide. But let me tell you something. I could if I wanted to,
with.
because
Oh
it's like
dear.
you've dealt with characters. Yeah, you've dealt with characters down through the ages and whatnot. So you say, "Oh,
So, what coping skills have you found that really work for you?
oh, okay. Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. There are a few that I recommend. It's like first of all, we almost touched on this earlier. We were talking about stigma. Part that you need to something you need to do is remove yourself from the stigma. Now through that, what you need to do, I think, is kind of uh, uh, cut back on your circle of acquaintance. It's like find out who you can really talk to, who you can't. Get rid of those poison people. Basically, is what it is.
Yes.
People think you're going to go down the street naked or whatever. You don't want to mess with people like that.
No,
Another
no.
thing that really this is really stupid, but you'll be surprised with how much it works, especially if you're just early on in therapy or learning how to cope. Is making that list, man. Take a sheet of paper, divide it in half, good side, bad side, pro and cons, whatever like that, and work out what's good and what's bad. And then you can also, it may surprise you because you may find out that something you're working on really doesn't, there's not that many pros to it. There's a lot of cons. So you can kind of eliminate that.
Yes, taking
And
some
also,
of the stuff away, some of the overburden,
that
taking it out.
now there's a third thing that works for me, and we kind of touched on that. I used to, I still do, but I used to because it's all I had time for was watching a lot of YouTubes.
Mhm.
Now there are good YouTubes, there are bad YouTubes.
Yes.
Find look about what the people are doing. I'd rather hear that from somebody with some letters after their name, or somebody's got some credibility, rather than just
Yes.
hearing somebody's soap opera.
Is there any
Those are
that you really like?
my yeah. Oh yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. I've got this person's book, and I've subscribed to her channel. I really like a therapist by the name of Katie Morton. She came out with a book a couple of years ago, and she's I first discovered her before anybody else really on YouTube. Her topics are so far ranging. One day, I mean, what really sucked me in was when she had a discussion about depression. Okay, I was there, man. But and then the next week, like I said, it's far ranging. The next week, it may be something about this is one I didn't watch, but she covered this also was about self hurt, cutting yourself. I said,
Oh,
I don't think I need to hear about this. But I mean, she really talks about so much stuff. But she is a therapist, and I don't think she does it right now. But when I started tuning into her channel, she was doing three things. She had her own practice, so she hung out a shingle. She was also working at a hospital, and
wow.
I don't know how when she had time for YouTube. Like I said, she had her own practice. She was working in a hospital, and I believe she's also teaching. Also, I mean, it's three things right there, and she
Wow.
was still putting up 2 YouTube videos a week. I mean, how can somebody do that? When does she sleep?
Maybe she doesn't. Do you also like podcasts? Because if you like podcasts, I was listening to one. It's called The Savvy Psychologist. Fabulous.
Uh huh.
Yeah,
Okay. Cool.
yeah, I heard that one, I think about last year, maybe a year and a half ago. And it's just nice, quick. Usually they're about 10 minutes long. So it's great while I'm just out quick, walking the dog, taking them to go to the bathroom. And again, it's
Yeah.
wide reaching topics like this other person, Kay Morton, right? Wide reaching topics.
Well, that's good. You're saying that about she only talks for 10 minutes or something like that,
Mhm.
because I still struggle with. I used to really love to read, okay, but I don't read as much as I used to because it's like sometimes the sentence structure is too complex, and so like I'll get to the end of a sentence or a paragraph. I said, what the heck did I just read? And I got to go back and break it down a little bit.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I didn't know until I said, wait a minute here. And that's the way I've started writing in very short sentences.
yeah,
And try to stay away from the complex sentences.
yeah,
I mean, I still do it do like that. But I mix it up so there's a little bit of easier flow right there. Then you're reading,
good.
oh my gosh, how am I gonna? Yeah.
Yeah, because usually when I'm picking up a book to read, I want something that's easy that I don't have to think too much about because I'm trying to relax.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, you're not. You may not be old enough to remember this, but I think it was back in the '80s. There was a movie called oh shoot, what was it? A bunch of friends got together for a guy's funeral. Anyway, and one guy was a writer for People magazine, and he said it's important not to write anything that's too long for somebody to read. Kind of goes along with what we're talking about.
Yep, exactly. That's funny. I know, I definitely wouldn't remember. I was a baby.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. What would you tell the people watching or listening? What would you tell them? What kind of thought would you want to leave them with if they're struggling as well?
You know, it will get better. But what you got to do, I mean, you know, if you're in therapy and the therapist says, "I want you to work on this during the between now and the next session," do it. Because what was aside from the fact that you know it helped me, that was the biggest gripe my therapist had. It amazed her the way I would do. I tell people to do so many things and they don't do them. That's why they don't get well. I said,
Yes. Yeah, that's a
but
really good point.
you got to work on yourself. You know, do what they say, and take a few minutes out every day. I mean, even if it's only 5 or 10 minutes, and just assess what's going on, what you can eliminate, you know, and don't dwell on things too much. You know, I said I had depression, anxiety. It's like if I'm not careful, you know, like I will get myself all worked up. I'm sleepy when I lay down and don't go to sleep.
Oh,
Uh,
yes, me too.
you know, I do the thing where like, you know, I take 2 or 3 deep breaths, I hold it for a couple counts, and then I exhale, do it really slow. And you know, like that old thing about feeling your feet, your knees, and you know,
Mm-hmm.
up your body. But hey, I got to do that. I mean, like
Yep.
last night, I said, oh man, I'm gonna be up all night if I don't take care of this right now. I knew it was happening, and so another thing I do is I use background noise. I have a sound
Okay.
machine, so I turned that last night,
Yeah, my kid,
and
he sleeps with headphones on, like music right in his ears.
yeah, I do all the weird stuff. It's like aromatherapy, the noise therapy, and it's like, yeah, you know, I mean,
Yep,
that's a
some
little
people
bit
it
out
works.
there.
It
It,
works for some
it, it works.
people. I like
It's
total
like, you
silence,
know, with
total darkness.
exactly. I mean, another thing I do that works just for me. I'm not saying this is going to work for you because it's a rich thing, but I have got to watch TV or a movie or stream a movie on the computer before I go to bed. It's
Yeah.
like it makes me soft, or say, you know, the blue light will keep you awake and all that kind of stuff. I've got to do it.
Yeah.
I used to drive my therapist crazy until she realized that I had to do it. It worked for me.
Yeah. And that's just it. Just
She's like,
because the majority of people shouldn't do it doesn't mean that it doesn't work for some people. All right. So I love all of your tips and your pointers and your openness. That's fantastic. But what we haven't told everybody who's listening is what you've written. So what have you written?
oh, okay. I started out in westerns, and it's kind of I started out. My first book was called Grandpa Wore Six Gone. I still like the story. It still sells. It was a story about a kid who uh, let's see. It takes place in 1885. He leaves an abusive relationship on the farm, takes off, you know, and ventures into the big city. It's kind of like a Huck Finn story, basically. You know,
Okay.
going out, you know, going to the adventure, and he gets a job working in a bordello. You know, so that gives me a, you know, I always put a little bit of humor in there, you know, stuff to, you
Yeah.
know, kind of make it smart. So he does that, then he gets tied up with an outlaw, and then he becomes a deputy sheriff, gets
Oh,
back in with the outlaws. So you know, it sounds like it's really a convoluted story. It's written really tight, like I said, that style where it's like it's really short sentences and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
it's really just a novella, basically.
Okay.
It's like 130 pages.
Nice short. I like it.
But it was a lot of and, and then later on, I've stuck with that character Charlie Hobbs in a series. I wrote another book called Treasure of the Ant People, um, and that's when it started getting a little weird. It's later in his life, and he's buddied up with a guy named Joby, and it's still late Western stuff, late late 1800s, 1890
Okay.
sometimes. And what they want to do is go to Mexico and try and find Pancho Villa's treasure. Hence the
Oh.
title Treasure of the Ant People.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But, but what there is, it gets really weird because what they do, they find an underground civilization of ant people.
Ooh. Interesting.
And,
All right.
and then, I did another one called Once Upon a Time with Grandpa. That's been a fairly popular book also, but it's one I totally wrote for myself because I wrote it right after I watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And I
Okay.
found out there's a lot of movies and books out there with Once Upon something. I mean, you got
Yes.
like Once Upon a Time in the West, and there's even a movie called Once Upon a Time in Vietnam. I don't know if it's a
Oh,
war movie or what. I haven't seen that one, but there's a lot of them out there. So it's really, uh, it's a crazy story where the I write these all as standalones and put like one little twist in there to remind people of the old story, kind of like what
oh,
James
nice.
Bond movies do.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that.
And so what it is, Joby is like a big, they're both dreamers, but Joby is like the crazy dreamer. And so what he's done, he sells their story to a magazine. And then they, well, that, so that goes for a while like that. To investigate a story, Butch Cassidy really died in South America because there was a guy later on who claimed to be Butch Cassidy.
Oh, really? I didn't
And
know
so
that.
there's always this mystery, and it can't get any definitive DNA,
Yeah.
samples or anything like that. So even to this, there are people that say Butch Cassidy did not die, and then,
Ooh.
but it gets even better because there is a woman, and you never know in my book who's a real person and who's a made up person. But he had a sister, a younger sister. There's 18 years between them, and I
Wow.
don't even want to go there. Okay, yeah, wow's right. But it's like the reports have said that he went back and met his younger sister after the alleged shootout in Bolivia. I don't know.
Oh.
So
Hmm.
anyway, I said, "Oh, it's really cool." And so what I did though is blend this story, and then I put some others in there too. I put like White Earp in there, John,
Okay.
all the same story. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
see, this story was in 1927. Jane was
Okay.
just getting started out. He was still a young buck, basically working as a stunt man or just
Mm-hmm.
a gaffer at the movie studios. But he making his a lot of lessons and basing characters on Wyatt Earp. And Wyatt Earp
Okay.
didn't die until 1929.
Oh, okay.
See, that's my weapon nerdness kicking in right now. And so I thought, let's put them all together. And how can I do that though? I said, okay, there's going to be a party. Okay, and they go to John Ford's house for the party.
All right.
John
All right.
Ford was a director of early movies. I'm doing in the movie, or in the book rather, is talking about they went to a movie and it's 1927, right before talkies, sort of,
Yes.
before there started talkies, but before they hit really big of talkies.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so what they would do is if that in that time period is make a silent version and a talking version also, and that
Oh.
was weird. And and then also I'm saying like well, I'm glad I know how to read because you have all those subtitles down there and stuff. So it's kind of interesting. But then they get carried away at the party by seeing White Earp across the floor there, so they gotta go talk to him a little bit too. And then now I did a collection of short stories also, which is kind of cool. Kind of something
Yep.
to do with stories. I didn't. What am I going to do with them?
Yeah.
So I put them all together and call it the Old West and the Weird West,
Oh,
because those
cool.
are three topics that I really. When the Old West is just that, you got the horses and six guns. Okay,
Yeah.
it could be band brothers, whatever. Then you get the New West. I really like this genre. It's like a lot of Western purists don't, but I do,
Yep.
because it may be pick up guys in a pickup truck, with a Winchester in the back window.
Mhm.
Um, let's see. For instance, No Country for Old Men is basically a neo-western, and,
Okay.
and when you think of that, you say, "Oh, I see where he's coming from." And so, like, I put a story in there. It's more of a has more of a rural feel to it.
Hmm.
And but it's about some guys, that are playing games and stuff, and there's a bank robber and he's hiding out near there and all that kind of stuff. And anyway, I wrote a fourth story called The Windmill Portal. A real neat little story, totally science fiction. Again, Obi, and this time they go. Let's see. Oh, okay. It kind of, in the other stories, something has happened, a little bit of conflict, and so they've kind of split up. And but and in another story, Cherry has been reunited with an old flame from long ago. As it turns out, she had a baby by him, and
Oh.
yeah, so it gets a little soapy too, a little something for everybody in there. And so he gets to meet the son, and that kind of thing. And he goes on his honeymoon, and they see a strange craft in the air and all this kind of stuff. And
Ooh.
so it like basically a flying saucer. Okay, but then they go for the magazine. They get sent back to Aurora, Texas, which was actually the scene of the first alien encounter, allegedly. But the idea was that a flying craft from another planet crashed into a windmill there, hence the title Windmill Portal. But it gets better because there's a portal there that allows the space travel. Like a portal is like when you take a sheet of paper. It's like from raise this up a little bit. Like you got to go all this distance. Okay, if you get a portal, which is basically a hallway, all you got to do to get those 2 points is go through here.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, so
Very
then
cool.
yeah, that's one theory they have about instead of traveling thousands of miles through space, that's how the flying saucers get here.
So you've written quite a few different things, which is
Yeah,
very
exactly.
fun. Where can people find all of
Yeah,
these
I used to say
books?
I'm a Western writer and
Yeah,
just do
yeah.
it all.
Yes. So where do people find them?
Oh gosh. Okay, the easiest way to do that, I think, would be to just Google my name, and I'm sorry, not Google it, but pull up Amazon and put my name in the space bar, because
Wonderful.
I've got a page on Amazon. It's got all of my books. Okay, you okay?
Yeah, yeah. My cord just moves. There we go.
Oh,
All right. So
yeah.
they jump on Amazon. They put James Rickard in the search bar.
Yeah,
Perfect. And
and my books come up then.
wonderful. And Rickard is spelled Rickard. For
Very
those of
good. Yes, a lot of people did that. Yes.
it's not that I remembered. I was reading it off the screen.
Whatever it's
for for
okay.
those of you who are listening through the podcast, you wouldn't be able to see that. So very important to have it spelled out for you.
Oh man, you know what I was going to do? I was going to get one of those a little thing, a little board with my name on it, and put it up, like they do like on the talk shows and stuff. So
Yeah,
you
I
got a
know.
creeper at the bottom.
I'm
Got
trying to
to.
I'm trying to figure out how to add those in, and one day down the road I'll have time to figure that out, but you're one of the first episodes, so you don't get that. But you get the joy of being one of the first.
And you know what? It'll work out okay because I told you about I had a 2.5 year relationship with my therapist. I was one of her first patients, so
Oh
we kind
wow.
of grew together,
Yeah,
and it worked out
yeah.
for
Awesome.
both of us.
Great. And where can people follow you? Are you on Facebook or Instagram, any of that stuff?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, I do it all, man. It's like I'm on. I have now talking about having things written down. I had to write it down so I wouldn't forget.
Good.
Facebook, Twitter, of course. I mean, that's pretty darn easy. Instagram, okay. Goodreads, Pinterest, and there's another one called All Author that I've started lately, and I think that's working out really well. And there's another one called Quirky, Qwerty,
Oh, okay.
and I'm on there also.
Awesome.
I'm out there.
And
And you can hit me up with my email is jamesrickardwrites at gmail.com. It's easy to find me if you want to.
excellent. And I will put all of these links down in the description below so that you can follow James, because it's super duper important to show support to our guests and to authors all over the place. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate all of the various insights that you have shared with everyone.
Well, thank you very much. Like I said, if we can help only one person, hey, I'm a happy camper today.
Thank you so much for sharing. You had so many awesome insights, and I'm so glad that you found a therapist that worked really well. Sometimes it can be hard, and you know what? Don't give up. If you meet one therapist and at first you're like, this is not working, find another one. All right. It's just like having a doctor, a second opinion, right? Third opinion, fourth opinion, however many times it takes, just keep trying and keep talking. Because, of course, we all know that the only way to end the stigma of mental health is to talk openly and honestly. So remember to hit that like and subscribe button. Check out the description down below because all the links to follow along with James Rickard are down below. And if you want to check out any of his books, they are available on Amazon.